Day, and then we'll start addressing some of the issues in that area. For those folks that have teenage children up in that area, you may want to try to keep your eye on them, know where they are after 10, 11 o'clock and what they're doing. They're just wreaking havoc on the folks that live around the Clark Park area. So I ask you to know where your kids are. I also congratulate Sergeant Tom Romeo. He was, if the folks don't know, he was appointed permanent sergeant this past week. So I express my congratulations to him. On a more somber note, I'd like to acknowledge and pass along publicly my condolences to Marty Tilton, our Parks Director, and Scott Tilton, one of our police officers in town. They lost their father who battled cancer. They lost him about 3 weeks ago. So I pass along my condolences to the Tilton family, and my prayers and thoughts are with you.
Thank you. Michael?
I'd like to echo Mr. Delaney's condolences to the Tilton family as well. Pretty much just echo everything he said. The July 4th celebration was fantastic as usual. Warren did a great job with the fireworks, as he does every year. And my congratulations to Sergeant Tom Romeo.
Steve?
Okay. Ditto, ditto. Ditto, ditto. But in relation to the 4th of July committee, they're a hard-working, tired group of people, and they need some help if it's going to continue. My concern is that, again, the revenues being raised are not necessarily enough to sustain the program here, and we're really at risk of losing it. So we need some people to step forward. I mean, if you enjoy it, participate a little bit more. I mean, they had a hard time getting people willing to volunteer just for security, just to walk the perimeter of the property and things of that nature this year. And I mean, we have literally hundreds, if not thousands, of people go down and participate as far as being spectators, but we need more people to step up to the plate and participate if we're going to continue with this program. And again, from a financial standpoint, I'm not so confident that it's been as successful as they had hoped. So we are at risk at this point, and I would hope that between now and the not too distant future, maybe we can get something else going so that we can help sustain the program, because it is a great thing, and I know that people from other towns come in and enjoy it too, but more importantly, it's been a great thing for this community over the past several years, dating back to when we had the bonfires first, and then as Warren, as Warren's interest in pyrotechnics, progressed here from just plain old fire, and the bonfires up to the good stuff, and he puts on a spectacular show, and again, it's greatly appreciated, and I'd hate to lose it at this point, but I think
I'm surprised you haven't asked from Mother Nature to cooperate.
Mother Nature, it always plays a big role.
It's really
here.
too bad that.
But the committee members are getting very much worn out. I mean, it's a lot of effort and a big undertaking, and they need some assistance. And if you've got the time and the inclination, it can be very rewarding. But we need some help in sustaining it.
Perhaps what we should do in the future is, leading up to it, and I don't mean a week before, but months before, kind of get the word out again.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is that they're always they haven't got enough seed money. It's like any other program. If you have the money up front, to cover this year, then what you raise carries you forward. But we're always kind of chasing their tail here, trying to pay for last year's bills before this, when the next year comes around. So
I agree. And Steve, I don't know if the general public realizes out there, it's all put on and paid for by donations. There's no funding from the town. It's strictly donations. It's thousands of dollars, and I know this year the money didn't come in as they had hoped and expected. And speaking with Warren, he doesn't know whether or not it could happen next year, right, given the expense associated with it and the lack of funding. So it's such a signature event in this town. I would hope people would reach in and contribute what they can.
And again, it's not too soon to contribute for next year, or even to help offset the costs of this year. So maybe if we could talk to the 4th of July committee and start some sort of an event type thing to help them raise some funds earlier and sooner, so that we can sustain the program. But it was a terrific. The night actually paid off pretty well for the 4th, and again, Warren did a great job with his group. Again, to Sergeant Romeo, and congratulations on his promotion, and the Tilton condolences also. I had asked the town administrator, and I know he's not here, but just in relation to the improvements on Haverhill Street and Mount Vernon Street in relation to the 40B that was supposed to take place during April vacation. Hasn't happened yet. I still don't want that to fall by the wayside in relation to the off-site improvements that the 40B developer was supposed to take care of. First of all, last fall, got a postponement from the DPW in order to, and a commitment to have it done during April vacation when the kids were out of school. Again, this is to take the hill out in front of the church at Mount Vernon Street, which we've been trying to do for about 50 years. And as part of the negotiations with the 40B on Mount Vernon Street, the developer was supposed to take care of that. I would hope that that would be taken care of sooner rather than later, and that they meet their commitment. Also, I'm still awaiting a report on the Route 62 project in relation to, we just declared the ADA the 26th of July. But all these outstanding issues in relation to Route 62, I think we need an update on that. And lastly, I'd like to address a front-page article in the transcript in relation to the police department seeking to revive the motorcycle unit. And let me preface my remarks by saying I don't want to discourage any department head or employee of the town of North Reading in seeking some new initiatives to, you know, save us money or become more efficient, or any. I don't want to discourage that sort of thing. However, I also don't want to read about it on the front page of the transcript. I mean, I was totally unaware that the police department was undertaking any type of an activity whereby they were looking to bring out some new equipment in the way of motorcycles, first of all, and secondly, to go out and actively seek, solicit from the community, the business community, the community at large, funds to fund a program that hasn't even been discussed by this board. I mean, we sit through hours, weeks, months of budgetary discussions in relation to prioritizing programs as far as how each and every one of these departments is going to be run, and not once, and I don't think I missed any budget sessions, were motorcycles even mentioned or brought up. And if they had been, this isn't a new idea. This has been broached over the years that I've been here, and has not been brought to the surface for what I think is some pretty compelling reasons, but that's probably for another day. But I think it was inappropriate that it wasn't brought before this board for discussion prior to a front-page story in the newspaper as to an initiative that's already been undertaken, I assume, the front-page solicitation for funds to fund this program, and we haven't even voiced an opinion on it. And again, maybe the board's embracing it, but I think it needs some discussion, and it hasn't taken place. So I didn't appreciate reading about it on the front page of the transcript. We never discussed it in the budgetary process. We never solicited our opinions in relation to whether the program should even be undertaken. And I really have a problem with the solicitation by our, whether it be the police department or any department, of our business community and local residents for a program that we knew nothing about. So I think that it should be held in abeyance at this particular point. I think we should have a discussion about it, because there are some some issues that need to be discussed in relation to liability. There's some we've already lost a police officer in the not-too-distant past to a motorcycle accident. Granted, it was his own motorcycle, but nonetheless, it's still a motorcycle accident. We're talking about 80 hours worth of training per employee. I mean, those 80 hours worth of training, it says paid with some grant money. Well, the grant money somehow or another, I don't know where that surfaced from. I don't even know what the grant was for. 80 hours worth of training, whether it be a time and a half or with their Kelly time, I think the prioritization of training should be done in concert with this board in relation to prioritization of budgetary needs and where it's going to be. I just think the whole thing wasn't handled well, and I think before they move forward, I think there needs to be some more discussion on it. I'm open to suggestions as to what the rest of the members of the board feel.
Steve, I agree. I guess I was disturbed that first I had any knowledge of it was in the transcript last week. It should have been presented to this board at some point in time before they went out and enacted the program, sent people out to train on these motorcycles. I agree. I think we need to hear from either the chief for someone who's running this program, the police department, regarding the program. I don't know whether I'm in favor of it or against it, but I don't know anything about it other than what I read in the paper. So, I would agree. I think it should be known to the chief of police that it should be put in abeyance, come before us, educate us on what it's all about.
Michael?
That was the first I read of it as well.
I did hear about it from the town administrator several weeks ago in the form of this was a program that they were looking into. My reaction was kind of negative at the time. Greg said that he thought that it was a good morale booster for the group of people that would qualify. I didn't say anything because I assumed that he would present it to the board at some point. And of course, I was as surprised as Steve and you, and probably Michael, associated with it appearing in the paper first. But Greg did tell me a couple of weeks ago that they were talking about this.
Well, it sounds like
So,
what you were told, though, was they were talking about it, considering it, but it seems like you were left to the impression that
well,
they were may come before us and discuss it with us.
Yeah, my assumption was that it would be presented to us. I agree with Steve. I think we should hold this in abeyance. They should be asked to wait until the chief comes before. We did try to reach the police chief today on short notice to see if he could attend the meeting. We will see if we can get him to a future meeting or what. Now, our meeting next week, I'm trying not to put anything on, but I'm sure we can get some answers before then. See if we need a special meeting or just call board members. I tried to reach Joe too, because he had told me to call him if there were any issues, to find out if he had any idea of just what this program was all about. So I didn't ask any questions about how it was funded or anything, just
But, I'd like to know thus far how much has been raised, because again, some of the grant money, now I don't know if the grant money was from a state grant, a federal grant, I have no idea what the grant money was. I don't know if it was grants in relation to contributions from members of the community, how much has been raised, how much has been spent. I mean, if we've sent, I think the article said 3 officers to 80 hours worth of training, that's 2 weeks each, that they weren't on patrol doing other things, and we're paying them time and a half or Kelly time on a program that we didn't endorse.
This is a recurring problem, and I think maybe it's a policy thing that we need to deal with. And that's got to do with, first of all, I don't want to discourage grants, okay, so I don't want to be misread here.
No.
Right. But I learned of a grant that refurbished the Freightliner town ambulance into a police, I don't know what they're calling it, emergency command vehicle, that's what it was. And I learned about that one day, taking a tour of the fire station by Mr. Harris, Chief Harris, and when I went out back, this vehicle was there. It was shiny, brand new, I mean, that's how it appeared to me, because it had been redone, right? And, I asked about it, and, it was paid for by a grant, and no board member that I queried about it knew anything. This is before you got on the board. Knew anything about it. So, I'm not saying it was a bad idea. It's just that, all of a sudden there's a vehicle driving around town. Someone asked a board member, where'd this come from? Where'd the money come from? We can't answer the question. And this is another example of it. The first thing the phone will ring off the hook and it'll say, we don't have enough money to fund our schools and do this and that, but we have money to fund a motorcycle group, without people thinking about, well, it was a grant or where the money's coming from. And I agree with Steve. I don't think we should be hitting our business people up to fund that kind of a program.